The twin moons of the colony world Aurora Prime rose above the horizon, painting the sky in silver and blue. The colony was small, built on green fields and hills that stretched under endless stars. To outsiders, it was only a remote human settlement, forgotten at the edge of the galaxy. But to two children, it was their whole universe. Ethan was 10 years old, full of restless energy. He liked to climb trees, chase after glowing insects, and explore caves that adults warned him never to enter. His clothes were often dirty, his hair messy, and his hands always busy with stones, sticks, or broken machines he tried to fix. Lyra was different. She was quiet, graceful, and always curious about the world. She had strange eyes, golden with a hint of silver, unlike any other human child on the colony. The other children sometimes whispered that she looked too strange, but Ethan never cared. To him, Lyra was simply his best friend. Every evening after the day's work, the two would meet near the old oak tree by the river. There they played games, told stories, and dreamed about the future. One evening, as the air grew cool and the moon shone brighter, Lyra sat with her feet in the water. Ethan threw pebbles, trying to make them skip across the surface. "You're doing it wrong," Lyra laughed. "You have to throw it flat, not straight." "I am throwing it flat," Ethan argued, tossing another stone. It sank at once. Lyra shook her head and showed him how. She picked up a smooth pebble, flicked her wrist, and the stone bounced across the water 5 times. Ethan's eyes widened. "That's cheating." "You're too good at it. That's not cheating. That's practice," she replied with a proud smile. He laughed, then lay back on the grass, staring at the moons. "One day I'll build a ship. I'll fly higher than anyone else. I'll see the stars up close." Lyra tilted her head. "And what about me? Will you just leave me here alone?" Ethan thought for a moment, then sat up. "No, you'll come with me. We'll go together. You can be the captain and I'll be the engineer." Lyra's golden eyes sparkled in the moonlight. "Captain Lyra, I like that." For a while they stayed quiet, listening to the river and the night birds. Then Lyra asked softly, "Ethan, do you think we'll still be friends when we grow up?" "Of course," he said quickly. "Why wouldn't we?" "Because things change," she murmured. "Adults change. They forget things that matter." Ethan frowned. He didn't like the sound of that. After a moment, he grinned mischievously and said, "Fine. If you're so worried, I'll make a promise." "What kind of promise?" Lyra asked. He puffed out his chest. "When we grow up, I'll marry you. That way we can't ever be apart." Lyra blinked, surprised. "Marry me?" "Yeah," Ethan said proudly. "That's what people do when they don't want to leave each other, right?" "They get married." "So I'll marry you, promise." For a moment, Lyra stared at him. Then she smiled, not in her usual quiet way, but with pure joy. "You're silly, Ethan, but I accept your promise." She held out her little finger. "Pinky swear." Ethan wrapped his finger around hers. The two children laughed as the moon shone down on them, sealing a vow that seemed like a game to him, but something far deeper to her. The seasons passed quickly. Ethan and Lyra grew closer each day. They ran across the hills, explored caves, and watched the stars together. Lyra always seemed to know things no one had taught her. Strange names for constellations. Stories of places far beyond Aurora Prime. When Ethan asked how she knew, she only smiled and said, "My mother told me." Still, life was simple and happy, until the day everything changed. One morning, strange ships appeared in the sky. They were not like human ships, sleek, curved, and glowing with light. The entire colony gathered to watch as the ships landed on the far fields. Soldiers in silver armor stepped out, carrying banners of a foreign empire. At the center of them stood a tall woman with the same golden eyes as Lyra. Her presence was commanding, and the colonists whispered in fear and awe. She was no ordinary visitor. She was a queen or something close to it. Lyra's mother. Ethan watched as Lyra ran to her, crying out in a language no one else understood. The woman knelt, embracing her daughter tightly. That evening, Lyra came to Ethan by the old oak tree. Her eyes were red from crying. "They're taking me away," she whispered. "What? No, you can't go," Ethan shouted, anger and fear in his voice. "They say I must return. They say I'm important." Lyra's voice trembled. "I don't want to leave, Ethan. I want to stay here. With you." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then tell them no. Tell them you won't go." Lyra shook her head. "It doesn't matter what I want. I have to go." Tears filled Ethan's eyes, though he tried to hide them. "But you promised. You promised we'd go to the stars together. Lyra stepped closer, holding his hands. We will, one day. You promised to marry me, remember? That promise means you can't forget me, and I won't forget you. The next morning, the ships rose into the sky. Ethan stood in the field, watching as the glowing vessels vanished into the stars. Lyra was gone. All that remained was the memory of her smile, and the weight of a promise he had spoken under the twin moons. A promise he had never thought would matter. But in another part of the galaxy, far beyond human space, a girl with golden eyes whispered his name, holding on to that vow as though it were the most precious treasure in the universe. The years passed quickly for Ethan. Life on Aurora Prime had changed after Lyra's sudden departure. At first, he waited by the oak tree every evening, hoping she would return. He even carved her name on the old trunk, a silent reminder of their promise. But the moons rose and fell, and seasons came and went, and she never came back. Time forced him to move forward. He grew taller, stronger, and older. He studied machines, fascinated by how engines worked and how ships flew. By the time he was 20, he was a skilled starship engineer. By 25, he was working aboard freighters that traveled between human colonies. Yet, no matter where he went, he never forgot Lyra. The memory of her golden eyes followed him like a ghost. Sometimes when he was alone, he wondered if she still remembered him, or if their promise had been nothing but a child's game. One day, while traveling on a trade ship called the Starlight Dawn, Ethan's life changed forever. The Starlight Dawn was moving through deep space, carrying supplies from one colony to another. The crew was relaxed, joking and laughing as they prepared for docking at their next station. Ethan was in the engine room tightening a loose panel when alarms suddenly echoed through the ship. Unidentified ships incoming, the captain shouted over the intercom. All crew to stations. This is not a drill! Ethan rushed to the viewing deck. Through the wide glass window he saw them, sleek ships glowing with silver light, moving like predators around their freighter. They were nothing like human vessels. Their design was elegant, curved like wings, and their energy fields shimmered with power. The crew panicked. Pirates? Someone whispered. No, not pirates, Ethan muttered. His chest tightened. He remembered ships like these from his childhood, the day they had taken Lyra away. The radio crackled with a voice calm but commanding. This is the Royal Fleet of Varian. Prepare for boarding. Before the captain could respond, beams of light struck the freighter. A docking bridge extended and soldiers in shining silver armor stormed aboard. Their helmets reflected the lights, their movements precise and disciplined. The crew froze in fear. No one dared resist. Then the soldiers parted and a figure walked forward. She wore a gown woven with threads of light, a crown that shimmered like the stars, and her golden eyes glowed with authority. Her presence filled the room like a storm and a sunrise all at once. It was Lyra. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The little girl he once knew was gone. In her place stood a queen. The crew knelt instinctively, though they did not understand why. There was something about her that demanded respect, even fear. Only Ethan remained standing, frozen in shock. Lyra's eyes swept across the room. Then they landed on him. For a heartbeat, her royal mask broke and her lips curved into the faintest smile. Ethan, she said softly. The sound of his name from her lips sent shivers down his spine. Lyra? He whispered, as if afraid she would vanish if he spoke too loud. The crew glanced between them in confusion. What was happening? Lyra stepped closer, her voice steady, regal. Do you remember me? How could I forget? Ethan said, his voice trembling. You were taken away. I thought I'd never see you again. Her smile deepened, but her tone grew firm, carrying the weight of command. You made me a promise, Ethan. Under the twin moons of Aurora Prime, you said you would marry me. The room fell silent. Every soldier, every crew member, every officer froze in shock. A queen, this powerful, radiant queen, was speaking of marriage to a human engineer from a forgotten colony. Ethan's heart raced. His childhood words echoed in his mind. He had spoken them as a joke, a game. Yet here she was, treating them as truth. I was just a kid, he stammered. I didn't mean. Lyra raised a hand, silencing him. In my people's culture, a vow spoken under the sacred moons is binding. To you, it may have been a game. To me, it was an oath. The soldiers shifted, watching carefully. The crew whispered in disbelief. Ethan's throat was dry. You can't be serious. I am Queen of the Varian Empire, Lyra said, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. I do not speak of things lightly. I came here to find you, to claim what was promised. That night, Ethan was taken aboard Lyra's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed human ships. Its hulls were made of shining crystal and flowing metal, alive with soft lights. Everywhere he turned, alien guards watched him. He was led to a chamber where Lyra awaited him alone. Gone was the crown and gown. She now wore a simple robe, her hair loose, her eyes softer, more like the girl he remembered. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Ethan said, "Why me? You could marry anyone. Princes, lords, commanders. Why come back for me?" Lyra looked at him with quiet sadness. "Because you saw me as Lyra, not as an heir or a queen. You treated me as a friend, not a symbol. You gave me a promise, and I held on to it when I was alone in the palace. That promise kept me strong, and now I want you beside me, not because I must, but because I choose to." Ethan shook his head, overwhelmed. "Lyra, I'm no king. I'm just an engineer. If you marry me, the whole galaxy will rage, will whisper, will fight," Lyra finished calmly. "Yes, the nobles will hate it. The rulers will fear it. The humans will not understand it. But I'm not afraid. Are you?" Ethan stared at her. His mind was a storm, fear, confusion, longing, disbelief. He remembered the girl by the river, laughing as she skipped stones. He remembered her golden eyes filled with tears as she was taken away. He remembered their pinky swear. A part of him wanted to run. Another part wanted to stay. "I don't know," he admitted. "I don't know if I can be what you want me to be." Lyra stepped closer, placing her hand gently on his chest. "I don't want you to be anything but yourself. That is why I came back for you." Her voice was steady, but her eyes held something fragile, something vulnerable. The same look she had given him when they were children. For the first time since her return, Ethan saw not the queen, but the girl who once asked, "Will we still be friends when we grow up?" And he realized that to her his answer still mattered. But outside that chamber, storms were already brewing. News spread quickly across the empire. The Queen of Varian had declared her intent to claim a human consort. Nobles whispered of scandal. Enemies saw weakness. Human governments panicked, fearing what this alliance could mean. The galaxy was holding its breath. The royal fleet of Varian glided through the stars like a school of silver fish. Dozens of warships surrounded the flagship, each one shining with power. Inside, the halls were filled with whispers, arguments, and growing unrest. The news had spread quickly. Their queen intended to marry a human. In the grand council chamber of the flagship, alien nobles in elegant robes argued loudly. Some pounded their fists on the table. Others hissed words of anger. The golden banners of the empire fluttered above them, but there was no unity in the room. "This is madness," one noble shouted. "A human? A simple engineer? How can he sit beside our queen?" "It is an insult to our bloodlines," another hissed. "We have kept our heritage pure for centuries, and now she would throw it away for a colony-born nobody." Others were more cautious, but no less worried. "Think of the humans," one elder warned. "If this union is real, they will gain power beyond their station. They will demand influence in our councils. They will disrupt the balance of the galaxy." The arguments grew louder, the air heavy with anger. At the center of it all, Queen Lyra sat on her throne. Her face was calm, her posture regal, but her golden eyes blazed with quiet fire. She listened, letting them speak, letting their fears spill into the chamber. When the noise reached its peak, she finally rose. "Enough." Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Silence fell at once. "I have heard your concerns," Lyra said, "but know this, I am your queen. I do not ask your permission to rule. I make choices for the good of our empire, and I will not break a vow made under the twin moons of my childhood." The nobles bowed reluctantly, but their eyes burned with anger. They would not forget this. While the nobles plotted, Ethan walked the shining halls of the flagship in a storm of his own. Everywhere he went, guards watched him. Servants whispered behind his back. To them, he was not a man. He was an intruder, a stranger who had somehow caught the queen's eye. He didn't feel like a future king. He felt like a prisoner. In his chambers, Ethan stared out of the crystal windows at the endless stars. His thoughts were heavy. What am I doing here? I don't belong in this world. I fix engines, not empires. The door opened softly. Lyra entered dressed in a flowing gown of silver and blue. She carried herself like a queen, but when she saw his troubled face, her expression softened. "You are quiet," she said gently. Ethan sighed. "Quiet? I'm drowning. Your nobles hate me. Your people don't trust me. The humans don't understand me, and you treat my childhood words like they were carved in stone. How am I supposed to handle all of this?" Lyra stepped closer. "Do you regret your promise?" Ethan looked at her torn. "I was 10 years old. I didn't understand what I was saying. But I don't regret being your friend. I don't regret caring about you." Her eyes softened. "That is enough for me. The rest we will face together." But Ethan shook his head. "It's not enough for them. Your nobles are plotting against me. I can see it in their eyes. If you go through with this, they'll try to destroy me." Lyra's smile was sad but strong. "Then let them try. You will not face them alone." While Lyra gave him comfort, outside the flagship the galaxy was stirring. On Earth, the Human Council met in secret. Leaders of powerful nations gathered around a table, their faces grim. "This could be our chance," one leader said. "If one of our own becomes king beside the Queen of Varion, humanity gains influence. We gain protection. We may even rise as equals among the stars." But others shook their heads. "No, it is too dangerous. The Varian nobles will hate us. They may retaliate. And what if the Queen uses this marriage to control us? Humanity could lose its freedom." Arguments erupted just as they had among the nobles. Fear and ambition clashed and no one could agree. In the end, one truth was clear. Whether they wanted it or not, Ethan had become a symbol. His choices would shape the future of both humans and aliens. On the flagship, things grew worse. One evening, Ethan was walking through the gardens of the ship when a group of alien nobles confronted him. They were tall, elegant, their eyes glowing faintly in the starlight. "You do not belong here, human," one of them sneered. "Our queen may be blind, but we are not. You are a mistake." Ethan tried to walk past, but another stepped in his way. "Listen well. If you care for her, you will leave. Return to your colonies and forget this foolish promise. Otherwise, you will bring ruin to yourself and to her." Their voices were sharp, their threats clear. Ethan clenched his fists, anger rising in him. But he said nothing. He knew that if he fought back, it would only prove their point, that he was unworthy, a savage human who could not control his temper. He walked away, his heart heavy. Later that night, he told Lyra what had happened. She listened, her eyes cold with fury. "They dare threaten you?" she whispered. "Don't blame them," Ethan said. "They're only protecting their world. I don't belong here, Lyra. You should choose someone else." But Lyra shook her head fiercely. "No, they are wrong. You are not a mistake. You are my choice, and I will prove to them that you are worthy." "How?" Ethan asked quietly. Lyra's eyes gleamed. "With the trial of vows." The next day, Lyra summoned her council. Her voice rang with authority. "My nobles doubt him. My people whisper against him. But let there be no doubt. Let him take the trial of vows, the ancient test of loyalty and honor. If he succeeds, none may question his right to stand beside me. If he fails, then I will accept your judgment." The council chamber erupted with shock. The trial of vows was a dangerous test, meant only for warriors and leaders of great houses. No outsider had ever attempted it. The nobles smiled, believing this would rid them of Ethan once and for all. But Lyra stood tall, her golden eyes unyielding, and Ethan, though his heart pounded with fear, met her gaze. He remembered the little girl by the river, the laughter under the twin moons, the promise they had made. For her, he would try, even if the whole galaxy stood against him. The halls of the Varian flagship were quiet, except for the soft hum of energy flowing through the walls. Ethan walked beside Lyra as they approached the Chamber of Vows, a place few humans had ever seen. The walls shimmered with alien symbols, and the floor glowed faintly under their feet. "This is it," Lyra said softly. "The trial of vows. It will test your courage, your mind, and your loyalty. Many have tried and failed, but I believe you can succeed." Ethan swallowed, fear twisted in his stomach. "I don't even know where to start." "You start with your heart," she replied. "Remember the promise you made to me. That is your true strength." The chamber opened into a massive arena, filled with shifting platforms, glowing doors, and holographic projections. A voice deep and echoing filled the room. "Ethan of Aurora Prime, you have pledged your vow. To prove your worth, you must face 3 trials. The trial of strength, the trial of wisdom, and the trial of heart. Only then will you be deemed worthy to stand beside Queen Lyra. Ethan looked around. The platform shifted like water, and the air seemed to hum with energy. He could see holographic warriors, ancient machines, and strange puzzles appearing in different corners of the chamber. The first trial was clear. Holographic warriors stepped forward, armed with glowing blades. They moved quickly, testing his reflexes. Ethan's heart pounded. He had trained with machines and tools, not fighting warriors. Remembering Lyra's words, he focused. He dodged the first attack, ducking under a swipe and rolling to the side. He grabbed a floating staff left behind by one of the holograms and blocked another strike. Each move was instinct, guided by his mind and body working together. One warrior lunged at him. Ethan leapt, grabbed the edge of a floating platform, and swung his body around, sending the hologram crashing into the ground. It vanished instantly as if defeated. Step by step, Ethan moved through the trial. He dodged, blocked, and even used his environment to his advantage. Though he was human, his ingenuity and quick thinking allowed him to survive where brute strength alone would fail. Finally, the last hologram faded. The voice echoed again. Trial of strength complete. Proceed to the trial of wisdom. The next section was a room filled with puzzles. Doors were locked by alien codes, symbols, and strange energy fields. Ethan's mind raced. None of this looked familiar. He studied the symbols carefully. Some repeated patterns, others shifted with time. He remembered how he used to fix machines back on Aurora Prime, observing, testing, and figuring out solutions. He began experimenting. Touching one symbol caused another to light up. He noticed sequences forming like the pebbles he once skipped across the river with Lyra. Slowly, he solved one puzzle after another. Hours seemed to pass. Sweat ran down his face. His hand shook. But finally the last puzzle clicked and the door to the final trial opened. Trial of wisdom complete. Proceed to the trial of heart, the voice intoned. The final chamber was quiet. It looked like a small garden, peaceful and beautiful with holographic trees, streams, and flowers. But the voice warned him, "This trial will test your loyalty, your courage, and your heart. Only truth and love can guide you through." Suddenly illusions appeared. Ethan saw Lyra in danger. She was trapped on a ledge surrounded by glowing energy. Holographic enemies approached her. She called his name, fear in her eyes. Without thinking, Ethan ran forward. The illusions shifted, testing his decisions. Every path seemed dangerous, every choice difficult. He had to trust his instincts, trust his heart, and above all, trust his vow. He leapt over streams, dodged traps, and moved closer to the illusion of Lyra. When he finally reached her, he realized something. The danger was not real. It was a test of his commitment. He took her hand, speaking aloud, "Lyra, I promised. I will not leave you. I will stand by you always." The illusions vanished. The chamber glowed warmly. The voice said, "Trial of heart complete. Ethan of Aurora Prime, you have proven your worth." Ethan sank to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. He could barely catch his breath, yet a smile spread across his face. Lyra stepped forward, her golden eyes bright with pride. She placed her hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced fear, puzzles, and doubt, and you never forgot your vow. That is what makes you worthy." Ethan looked at her, overwhelmed. "I couldn't have done it without thinking of you." Without remembering our promise, Lyra smiled. "Then our promise was stronger than this trial." It always was. Word of Ethan's success spread quickly through the Empire. At first, the nobles were shocked. No outsider had ever passed the trial of vows. Many tried to hide their envy and fear, but whispers circulated that this human, this engineer, had a courage and loyalty unmatched by even the strongest warriors. Even the humans watching from distant colonies began to take notice. News reached their leaders. A human had survived a trial that tested strength, wisdom, and heart, proving that humans were more than they seemed, clever, brave, and determined. Ethan had become a symbol, not just of Lyra's childhood vow, but of humanity's potential to rise above expectations. That evening, Lyra and Ethan walked together through the gardens of the flagship. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and for a moment the galaxy felt small and quiet. "You were amazing," Lyra said softly, "not just in the trial, but always. You have a courage that others may never understand." Ethan laughed weakly. I just wanted to keep my promise. I never thought I'd make it this far. You did more than make it, Lyra said, taking his hand. You proved that a human can stand beside a queen, not because of power or blood, but because of heart. He looked at her, feeling a strange mix of pride, fear, and hope. The trial of vows had ended, but the challenges of the galaxy were only beginning. The day of the final ceremony had arrived. The entire Varian Empire watched, and word of the Union had reached human colonies across the stars. The grand hall of the flagship was filled with nobles, diplomats, and dignitaries, all waiting to see what would happen. Ethan stood beside Lyra, his heart pounding. The trial of vows had proven his courage, wisdom, and heart, but standing here now in front of the galaxy felt even more daunting. The eyes of thousands rested upon him, some curious, some suspicious, and some full of quiet fury. Lyra, radiant in her queenly robes, reached out and took his hand. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Ethan swallowed. "I think so," he said, though his voice trembled. Her smile was gentle. "Remember, this is not about fear. It is about choice, and we choose each other." The doors of the grand hall opened and a hush fell over the crowd. Lyra's heralds announced the human consort, Ethan of Aurora Prime. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Some were shocked, others whispered angrily, but all eyes were on him. A tall noble stepped forward, his robes decorated with gold and silver threads. His face was stern and his voice carried authority. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing low, "this human has passed the trial of vows. But I ask, can he truly be worthy to stand beside you as your partner, your equal in the future of this empire?" Lyra lifted her head, her golden eyes calm and fierce. "He has proven his worth, not through blood or power, but through loyalty, courage, and heart. This is what matters most. All who question him will see that the choice is mine and it is final." Some nobles bristled, but they fell silent. Lyra's voice carried authority no one dared to challenge. Ethan's mind raced. He felt the weight of every expectation, every eye upon him, but he remembered the little girl by the river, the promise they had made under the twin moons. He stepped forward. I accept this, not because I seek power, but because I choose her, because I keep my word, because she is my friend, my equal, my queen, and I will stand beside her for as long as I live." A cheer rose from some corners of the hall, but others remained silent. The human diplomats present exchanged nervous glances, unsure what this meant for their colonies. The alien nobles whispered, some angry, some begrudgingly respectful. Lyra's smile was radiant. She extended her hand toward Ethan. "Then it is done," she said. "Before the stars, before our people, I declare our union." Ethan took her hand, feeling a warmth that steadied his nerves. He could not believe this moment was real. He, a simple human engineer, was now recognized as the partner of the Queen of Varian. The ceremony continued with rituals from both human and Varian traditions. Holographic lights floated above them, singing with colors and patterns. Each movement, each word carried the weight of history and promise. When the final vows were exchanged, the crowd erupted. The skeptics were quieted by the strength of the moment, and even the most stubborn nobles could not deny the truth. Ethan had proven himself worthy. Later, in private, Ethan and Lyra walked through the gardens of the flagship. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and for the first time the weight of the empire felt light. "You were amazing today," Lyra said softly, "not just in the ceremony, but always. You faced the trial of vows, the doubts of thousands, and your own fears. You never gave up." Ethan laughed, shaking his head. "I didn't know if I could do it. I kept thinking, what if I fail? What if I'm not enough?" "You are more than enough," Lyra said, squeezing his hand. "Not because of your skill, but because of your heart. That is what matters most." He looked at her, feeling a mix of pride, relief, and awe. "I promise, Lyra, I will never forget the vow we made as children. And I will never stop standing by your side." Lyra smiled, the same playful smile she had when they were children. "Then we are ready for the future, together." Word of their union spread across the galaxy. Humans and Varian alike marveled at the courage and loyalty of Ethan. Humans began to see themselves as more than just ordinary beings in the galaxy, capable of standing beside queens and rulers. The alien nobles, though some still reluctant, could not deny the truth. A human had proven his worth through trials of strength, wisdom, and heart. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary, not power or bloodlines, but courage, loyalty, and love could shape the future. In the weeks that followed, the Varian Empire and the human colonies began to form closer alliances. Trade flourished, cultural exchanges grew, and the once quiet human colonies gained a voice in galactic matters. Ethan adapted to life beside the Queen, learning the ways of diplomacy, leadership, and honor. He was still an engineer at heart, but now he carried the weight of a promise that had reshaped the galaxy. Lyra, wise and graceful, ruled with him by her side, not because she needed his guidance, but because they had chosen each other. Together they faced the challenges of the galaxy, knowing that the bond forged under the twin moons of Aurora Prime would never break. One evening, standing on the observation deck of the flagship, Ethan looked out at the stars. He remembered the little girl laughing by the river, the promise they had made, and the journey that had led him here. Lyra came to stand beside him. "Do you remember our promise?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled, taking her hand. "I remember, and I always will." She laughed gently, the sound carrying across the deck. "Be careful, or I'll make you promise even more things." "I'm ready," Ethan said, smiling. "As long as it's with you."